to the ICX members that will be watching this presentation during Customer Service Week. Customer Service Week is such a great opportunity for us to just refocus again, just to evaluate again, how are we serving each other and how are we serving the customers in our environment. So this morning, I've invited you to say, you know, there's a couple of things that you can do to really differentiate your brand. And most brands are not doing it. Most leaders are not doing this. Most people are so operationally involved that they rarely sit back and say, oh, I think there could be a different way of doing this. So I want to share with you that different way of doing it. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it's pretty simple. Right, so if you take the guidance I give you today, there's no reason why your brand cannot achieve that level of supremacy and be the brand that's known for creating incredible experiences. So let's delve into this a little bit. I want to first talk about the challenges, right? And if you are experiencing this challenge as I'm speaking about it, I want you to nod vigorously, right? So I see a lot of organizations hopping on the digitization. We need to automate. We need to get AI to do things for us. We need robotics. We need just amazing digital stuff. We need to shift clients to a more cost-effective channel. Force clients to a more cost-effective channel, right? And sometimes we do this in favor of actually focusing on the humans. If I challenge companies and I say, tell me about your last big systems upgrade, usually they go, oh, we don't really want to talk about that. And I go, well, why? It cost so much. It took so long. We had such a large team working on it. And I say, well, when was your last human operating system upgrade? They go say, what? Right? Because we're so fast to upgrade the systems, but we're not necessarily that fast to upgrade the human operating system. So let's look at challenge number 2, compliance in favor of creativity. So often, people stay within the lines, right? Who have we got here from banks? Any people from the banks? All right. Any people from insurance? Any people from telecoms? All right. And all of you others, I'm sure if we dig in, we will find some rules and regulations and compliance, right? And sometimes we're so fast to say, sorry, this is the process. And we get more and more and more compliant. And the computer says no, right, in favor of looking at the human interaction. The third challenge, and I know none of you suffer from this, right? We call this siloitis, right? So we have silos in organizations, and those silos sometimes cause us to struggle with collaboration. All right. Anyone here have silos in their organization? Because I know it's very rare. Very rare, right? All right, so I have not ever dealt with an organization that do not have silos, right? So organizations were built so that there's teams that have focus areas, they get measured on those focus areas, and they specialize, right? Sometimes if they take the ball off their objectives, then and help a team next to them, then they don't achieve their objective. So silos were designed for efficiency, right, for achieving objectives. So if you're sitting in a company and people in your company are saying, let's break down these silos. Okay, don't break the silos, right? The silos are there for a reason. Do not break anything, right? Because when you break down silos, sometimes you break people. So my suggestion is build bridges between silos, right? So if you look at this image here, you can see this is a kind of a dysfunctional building, right? And they've slapped some stairs on later, but they're connecting the floors with these outside stairs, right? So if you're in an organization where you have that feeling there's always an us and a them, when something goes wrong, they go, no, it was those people, those two people there, right? You hear the language. So we want to make sure that we build strong relationships inside our organizations and that we give people in the silo skills to negotiate with each other, skills to really listen to each other, and the rituals where we can sit down and have a meeting and decide how are we going to hand off to you. And I'll talk a bit about customer journeys later. Customer journeys are very effective to actually show you how the silos should be working together to all serve the customer. Because sometimes we fragmented the customer journey across the organization, and this department and that department need to work very well together to serve the customer, but they don't. They don't work well together, and then the customer has to navigate the organization, and that's when you get that, I'm sorry, sir, this is not our department, and let me put you through. Oh, no, I can't even put you through. I need to give you the number, right? And then you get passed in the organization. This is not anything unique, but that's usually a sign of silos in the organization.
Yes.
You agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So the good news is acknowledging it is the first step. And then from there on, we can be smart about some design. And I'm going to show you the fastest way to differentiate your organization. I'm going to show you that this morning. All right. So the common thread in this, what do you think is the common thread in what I've shown you? What are we neglecting?
The human.
The human, yes. Yes, we're neglecting the human. The human is the common thread, right? Organizations are powered by people, right? Think about the people as the engine of the organization. And sometimes we look after the technology better than what we look after the people who power the organization. So, let me share with you a blueprint, right? And you will get a copy of this blueprint for download so that you don't have to redraw it, right? All right, so let's delve into this blueprint because this is the recipe. This is how you become more client-centric. This is how you achieve that level of excellence. So we're going to start with the customer, right? There's not an organization on the face of this earth that doesn't say, we aim to be customer-centric. Now, what does that mean? The first mistake we make with the customer is we broadly segment customers, right? We've got segments. So we broadly segment that customer, and the segments typically look like this. Our ideal target market is women in the age group 25 to 35 with 1.8 children. And I go, what? You say what? I wish I had 1.8, not 3, right? So we make these segments not human, right? Like I would love to be a woman between 25 and 35, but I can no longer misrepresent my age like that, right? So we dehumanize the segments that we serve, and that makes it more difficult to empathize with them and really to design amazing journeys for them. Because we've relied on data, we've datafied the humans. Because we put those numbers in a spreadsheet and we average it, and that's how we get to 1.8 children. So it's really important to get back to the human. You rarely have a single person making a decision about your brand, right? Even if they are a single person, they're still not making decisions about your brand by themselves, right? Some of them are families, some of them are influenced by a spouse, some of them are influenced by their parents, some of them are influenced by their friends. So if we say we market to a specific segment and we market to an individual, we're actually getting it wrong because we're marketing to potentially a system of people. Right. So even I think about a great example in banking, right? If I look at my banking choices, I remember being 6 and having a Sambo account, right? It was a great, solid bank, and they focused on children's accounts specifically. So when you open your account, they had a really nice picture on the card. You got this toy, this puzzle with which you move blocks around, and there were bees on this puzzle, right? We now go about 45 years back, people. So I can remember how I spent hours moving this puzzle around, right? It was such an early brand experience for me that unfortunately they no longer exist as a bank, but if they did, I would be banking with them because that was my first experience, right? Throughout my life, early days of going to uni, my parents played a big role in where I went, right? Because I had to have a study loan. So it's rare that we really focus on the system. And then what we also do is instead of looking through the human lens at our customers, right? We look through our lens, our process lens, and our product lens. And we don't understand that, if I ask people, I worked with a group of store managers for a retail, for a fast-moving consumer goods a store in South Africa, Pick n Pay. And I said to them, where does your journey start? They said, the landing strip. I go, you say, what? A landing strip? They go, yes, it's that part of the shop where you come in, right? There's normally crates with the specials. And I go, I'm sorry. My journey with you doesn't start there. My journey with you starts when I get home and my middle child is always hungry. He says, Mommy, I want a sandwich. And I go, oh, there's no bread. He goes, and I want milk with my and there's no milk. That's when my journey starts, is with the realization that I'm missing something, right? Then, as I go down the steps in this journey, I drive to the store after I've put all the kids back in the car, right? Shouted at them, safety belts on, don't say anything, I'm very stressed, I fight through traffic. I get to the store, now I'm not in the landing strip yet, I need to park, right? I find a parking next to a beautiful white 4x4, brand new, out of the box, right? This is the story happening inside of me that Pick n Pay doesn't see, right? I look at this car, I go, one day I'm going to have a car like this. And I look at my car and I go, I'm grateful for you, but I wish you would pick it up, right? Out of this car slides a woman in her gym clothes. Beautiful hair, makeup. She obviously hasn't worked out, but she's like wearing a, size 8. She slinks out of that car. I call her gym mom, right? And I look at her and I go, no, never one day. No, it'll never happen. And I pray, my children, please be good children in the store. I don't want to shout at you in front of gym mom because I already feel so inferior when I look at her car and her makeup and her gym clothes. And, right, so I go into the store. Usually I put my kids in the trolley. That's the least damage that they can do. Right, now that they're teenagers, they don't fit in the trolley anymore. So I've got 2 in the trolley, 1 next to the trolley, and I go, please, please, please. Where do they put the milk and the bread in the shop?
Right at the back.
Opposite back corner, right? So I have to navigate the aisles, right? So we go through the homeware, that's still all right. Then we get to the sweets. Then we get to the toys, okay? They make it so hard, right? By aisle 3, because I've got to get some little few things in between, by aisle 3, I'm shouting at my children saying, I am not your mother, although I brought you into this life. without an epidural for 18 hours, I will fucking take you out of my right? And around the corner comes Jim Mom, and she's smiling, and she's walking like she never worked out today. And Pick n Pay doesn't know my story. So by the time I get to the till, there's 8 tills. Only 2 is open. Okay? And I lose my shit completely. Who am I angry with? A little bit. I'm angry at myself. Right? Because a Wednesday, 5:30 is not a good time to go to Pick n Pay. Right? I'm angry at myself, but I'm never going to tell someone how I feel inside. And that's the important thing about a customer journey, right? We have this thing, and by the way, I hate going to any shop. I'm not singling out a brand here. I hate going to any shop. The thing is, we can set our target of what we want people to feel when they interact with our brand, right? If I'm a bank, right, I want customers to feel confident. I want them to feel like we really do care. Therefore, when I apply for a home loan with my bank, do not send me a blank form. Right, I take that as an insult. Because I've been with you for 22 years and you know everything about me. Why would you send me a blank form? So we need to think about how do we build that relationship. I don't care that that's a different unit, right? I know that's a different unit. I know it's actually a white label unit from another bank, right? That's how these layers and layers and layers of stuff works. Doesn't mean that it has to be badly designed. You get that? All right, so we have control over this. We want to infuse this with the emotions that we want and with the promise that our brand gives. And I'll talk a little bit more about promise in a bit. All right, now we go to the world of the employee. Many companies, you came today because we are talking about customer experience and customer journeys. That's the sexy stuff. What about the employee journeys? It's 2 sides of the same coin, right? You cannot treat your employees badly and then tell them thou shalt deliver a great customer experience. It doesn't work like that. It's short-lived, right? We do a campaign and we run a little competition, and the more smiles you get from customers, the more points you get, and then you can buy, something with the points, right? We design these systems, but we actually don't empower people to do the real stuff. All right. So, employee journey works the same way. You set your target. How do you want employees to feel every day at work? Do you want them to feel like imposters? Do you want them to feel like they'll never be good enough? And this goes back to the design of, when they join, how do you initiate them? How do you contract with them? How do they contribute? How do they grow? How do they collaborate? How do we give them acknowledgement? How do we appreciate them in our environment? And then, when they leave, I heard that there's amazing stories about companies that have created an alumni for the people that leave. And if they need a specific skill or a specific job done, they would tap into that alumni. Say, guys, we know you're no longer with us. It's a little bit difficult if they're with the competition, right? But if they're not, right, why not tap into that amazing pool of skills? All right, now, these 2, world of the employee, world of the customer, they're held together by a business design, right? And often, we do things with the customer journey, but we don't look at the business design that sits behind it, and that's why it fails. We design an amazing journey, and then we struggle to implement it because the systems won't do this and the processes won't do that. Right, so this business design, the most important thing I want to share with you is the brand promise. There's this thing that holds your whole business together, and that is ultimately how are you serving the customer? What problems are you solving for the customer? Now, this is like, and I speak a lot about this, it's like akabanga. Who's heard about akabanga? That is a chili oil that they make in Rwanda, right? They take these bell peppers, they smoke them, and they turn them into this amazing oil. It is so potent. The first time I saw it, it was in a hotel, wrapped in a paper towel. It didn't look very appealing, so I said to the waiter, "What is this?" He goes, "No, it's akabanga." Like everybody should know what akabanga is, right? I did that with you. Everybody should know what akabanga is. I said, "Why is it wrapped in a paper towel?" He goes, "Because it's so potent. If you touch the outside of the bottle and you later touch your eye, you will have serious issues." So they wrap it in the paper towel so that it doesn't get on your hands. The bottle, it's an eyedropper bottle. It has a warning on the bottle that says 4 drops only, right? People, this is amazing stuff, right? So when I came back from Rwanda and I went through customs, they opened my suitcase and I mean the akabanga, it's so potent, it starts singing, you know, like, ah. They said, "What is this?" And they didn't believe me, that it was just chili oil. I think they thought I was smuggling something illegal into the country. So I said, "No, you've got to have a taste of this. Open it, let's have a taste." So we're starting the customs, having a taste of the akabanga. Now, what's important about this story is that I challenge you to take your brand and bottle it so that it becomes your version of akabanga. The amazing thing is, I went on to be so addicted to akabanga that I always had a bottle in my handbag, in a Ziploc bag, right? Because if it gets on your stuff, it's bad news. I would eat food to have akabanga, not the other way around, right? And the akabanga makes me happy. It makes me feel energetic. If you took the label off it, I would still know that it's akabanga. And I want to challenge you with that, because a bank is a bank, right? A bank account is a bank account. Life insurance is life insurance, right? It's regulated by the same set of rules. It's the akabanga that makes it different. If I strip off all your logos and I didn't know who I'm dealing with, I need to feel it. I need to know that it's you. And that's not just a marketing campaign. That's about designing this journey with your promise in there. And when you look at complaint sites, you would have experienced this. If you did, raise your hand. When customers complain, they go, "But your billboard says," right? "But this box says it's going to do this and this and this, and it doesn't." So they know when you make a promise to someone, they know when you're breaking it, and they'll hold you to it. All right. So that's the most important part of this. If you set that promise and you make sure you design everything around that promise, then good things will happen. You will appear much more consistent. You will build trust with your customers, and they would only want you. And the ones that have been with you, they will never want to leave. Don't give them a reason to leave. Give them a reason to stay. Because you know, getting a new customer is more expensive than keeping an existing one. You want to really keep your existing customers. All right, now another piece of the puzzle is these third-party service providers. Remember I said the white labeling, right? So sometimes you have someone that delivers the service to you, but they need to pretend like they're you. Let's take a good example. You go to any corporate, who's the first person you meet? Security, right? Some people might have thought reception. No, security is the new reception, right? Because you need to first get past the security barrier. Now, would you say when a security guard joins the team there, because they don't work for the company, but when they join that team, do you think someone's having a conversation with them to say, "Hey, Wami, you're a new security guard here. I want to share our brand promise with you. And you know what? If our brand promise is to really care for you, right? When people sign in the book, I want you to make sure that the pages are white and crisp, right? The clipboard that you use must be clean, right? If this clipboard starts looking not so cool, you tell us and we give you a new clipboard. We want to give you an expensive pen with which people can sign in, right? Look after it, but if you lose it, right, we give you another expensive pen because that's our promise, that we care for people. Do you see how ludicrous that sounds? Because we never take the time. We don't even think about that as a touch point for our brand. We don't see it in the in the journey. So it's so important in the journey, the picture that I painted earlier. Even the things that you don't have control over, you need to look at them and you need to pay attention to them. All right. You see how it fits together as a puzzle. All right, now, I want to quickly talk about the process. So the process here, if you want to make a shift in your customer experience, the first thing you need to do is start engaging people, talking about it. If you love what you heard this morning, right, on not Monday, not Tuesday, right, because that's your holiday, right, but Wednesday, or if you're back early next week, have a conversation with people. Start finding the people that are so passionate about customer experience and engage them and say to them, listen, I think there's a better way to do this. Let's quickly look at, what are the most complaints that we get? That might be a really good question to ask. So we want to engage people, and then we want to evaluate. And a good place is to start looking at your complaints. What are people complaining about? If you take your top 5 complaints that keep on landing on your desk, any people here that get complaints on their desk? That's escalated. Okay, I see. Oh, I'm in good company. I love you, really I do. Thank you for doing that hard job with dealing with complaints. But the stuff that keeps on landing there, you've got to ask yourself, can we step back, look at the root cause? If we can't solve the root cause, we want to design it, right? So that we go, in every transaction like this, there's moments of misery and there's moments of magic. If we can't make a moment of magic, here are the moments of misery. This is what can go wrong. This will lead to disappointment. How do we handle it when it happens? So that your complaints teams, when something goes wrong, they mustn't say, oh, not one of those again. They must go, yes, that's my jam. I was so hoping I would be needed to solve this, so that they're confident that they know how to recover from something. Some of the things you're never going to solve, right? But it's about the way in which you solve it. And things get escalated for one reason only. The person feels that the person I've dealt with is not listening to me. So I need to traverse the hierarchy of the organization until I find someone who's listening to me. You've done it yourselves, right? You go like, get me a manager. Get me a manager. Because you're not listening to me and you're not caring about me and you don't sound like you're going to solve this for me. So get me a manager now. I'm not the only one that does this, right? Please smile. I'm not the only one that does this. All right, so that's evaluate what's going on in your organization. We're going to give you a link to do a little self-evaluation in a bit. All right, so then the third step there is extract, right? And that is your akabanga. Some organizations have it on the billboard, but just like you look at your strategy every year, your budget, who does a budget every year? You have to do a budget every year, right? But somehow we do a promise once and then we leave it to grow weeds and you can't eventually see what was the promise again. If I ask people, what's your brand promise? They go, wait, and they Google. Oh, let me quickly Google. What's our purpose again? What's our mission? What's our vision? What's our values, right? And they have to Google. There's nothing wrong with that, but the issue is your promise needs to be so strong that when someone wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning after a heavy night, right? You go, our promise at Brand Love is to unlock genius, right? So if someone wakes me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, they go, Chantel, what do you do again? I go, I unlock genius. Maybe I don't look like a genius right now, but I unlock genius in people, right? So we need to have that in our, kind of under our skins, and that's how we live it. Then we're going to elevate, and that's where we build these journeys. We design these journeys. We take the juice that we've extracted here, the secret sauce, we pour it into our journeys. And then step number 5, the evolve, is about creating brand warriors. It's one thing if you're all excited, right? But you've got how many people back at your organization? 200, 500, 800,000, right? You need to light the fire in their hearts to say, we understand the akabanga, and we know how to live the akabanga. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, great. Any questions about the model? Do you see it's like a puzzle, and you build this puzzle, and you need to, unfortunately, put all the pieces there. Otherwise, it's weird, right? Otherwise, you've neglected a part of the puzzle. Okay, I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to just allow for some questions.